Guys, what's going on? It's John. I'm with my good friend Kirk. We're here to talk about emulation. I call him the captain, Captain Kirk. When it comes to emulation, I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard that. You're a big Star Trek fan, I'm sure, right?
My father was.
Okay, right on. Sweet. Okay. Well, we're here to talk about emulation, and it's definitely evolving pretty quickly. And you're part of a team called the Aura Group, right? And Team Aura, and you guys are working on some really cool things. You showed me recently some games that just blew me away. I had no idea that could be emulated. Systems like the Saturn. You're working currently on the Jaguar, which should be done soon. Games like PSP and PlayStation 1, N64. Talk a little bit about how you got involved into the kind of emulation scene, all that good stuff.
Originally in '98, I wanted to play Pac-Man, and I did a search for Pac-Man clone, and I actually saw MAME. That was the first time I saw MAME, and it had just been done. It was all command line, so there was no kind of front end or anything else like that. And it did the Z80 chips at that time. There was only a few games that it played. Yeah. And then from there, it went to Super Nintendo emulation, and you used to have to download the game. You had no compatibility list whatsoever. You would download the game, but you'd have to download it on your modem. So it would take it was a 1 meg file at 33.6. It would take an hour to 2 hours. Yeah. It was just ridiculous, but the way it has progressed is just amazing. Yeah. I mean, emulation has turned out to be so cool.
I kind of think of emulation in a ways to like MP3s or to music. Yeah. To be honest with you, it's just digitalizing it. There, of course, there's people who are going to see the downfall of emulation since you're ripping, you're stealing things. I can see see the argument, but to me, look at these discs, right? And they're actually rotting. There's disc rot, and interesting is disc rot, and games aren't going to be able to be playable in 5-10 years from now, or possibly. And so, in a sense, you're kind of preserving history. Right. So that's kind of my thoughts on emulation. Also, I think it's really cool. There's games like we're playing. You mentioned a game that's actually translated in English. I forget what game was that.
Police Knots.
Police Knots. Yeah, that you actually play an English translation of that now. You wouldn't be able to do that before. Exactly, yeah. So to me, there's games that are super expensive that are out of my budget, out of your budget, out of many other people's budgets. And it just opens up a new opportunity for people to get into retro games. That's kind of how I look on it, because for me personally, it doesn't stop me from going out and buying the game. If I like the game, I'll go out and buy it. Right? So awesome. So talk about the Odroid. When people think about emulation, they think about Raspberry Pi. I think the first thing that comes to mind, because it was like one of the first things in the market recently. The Odroid, though, what is this thing? How is it better? Explain a little bit more.
It's an 8-core running at 2 gigahertz. It's got 2 gig of RAM and a gigabit Ethernet. It doesn't have wireless like the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, but it is faster. It doesn't run as hot. It has its own fan on it, but it's just the way it runs is just so much smoother than the Pi. I don't know exactly if it's the Mali chipset or if it's the new Cortex chipset that they're using. I think it's a Cortex. Let me look at that. Yeah, Cortex. I was right. I didn't want to tell you guys the wrong thing. Sorry. Yeah. So the Cortex processor is very, very fast. It seems to run really well. Yeah, it's just amazing. I can't really get too in depth on it because there's not really too much to it. It just runs really well.
And one of these will cost you like less than $70 to purchase.
$61.
$61, and then there's this kit that I'll show you as well. It kind of looks like an N64 casing, which is cool. And that's like less than $30. $23, which is cool. Just there's an LCD display up front. I'll do a video later on showing how that works. But talk about like some of how many platforms are there available currently on?
There's almost 40. I think we even got karaoke on there. Like really? CDG karaoke, yeah. Like Drastic, which is really cool, which I'm excited about. We even got it to where it supports the microphone, so you can actually yell into it. So if you have a separate microphone, you can yell into that. Some of the things that I'm really looking, like you said earlier, the net play. I want to be able to play 2 players remotely, yeah. Everything else like that. It's getting so nice. Emulation is getting to the point where it's so much more convenient than having to search and pay hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for a game. Yeah. But like you said, though, if you like the game, go buy it, and that's what I do. But some of these games you can't buy because they're so expensive. It's just ridiculous.
I also think it should be noted, all these games, I think 99% of these games are really no longer available outside of third party. Exactly. Right? So it's not like you're taking money out of the pockets of those who produce it. Like, for example, recently I discovered one of my games I created, some guy ripped the ROM, and that kind of upset me a little bit because that game had just come out. You know, we did a limited run of that game, but it's not like I'm against ROMs or anything like that. But I just think, you know, it's a little different situation. It's not apples and apples; it's apples and oranges, right? So it's two different situations. So there's pros and cons for sure to emulation. What are some of your favorite platforms?
X68000. If you love shooters and you like Street Fighter and all that, those are actual machines that CPS1 and CPS2 games were actually developed on. So the games are really, really awesome. There's basically it's Castlevania Chronicles on the PS1, but it is a much better version on the X68000. And if you're into shooters, Chorin Shah X68, that's the one you want to go for. That's my favorite platform. So.
Well, you know, one thing we actually glanced over real quick, and you talked about the net play, and I want to explain a little bit more about how your vision of this is. Guys, there's going to be a point where you should play with some of these retro games online with your friends, you know, basically online.
Like Street Fighter 2, I'm at home, he's at home, and we just connect together and we can play two-player just remotely, both on our emulation station.
That is pretty rad. Yeah. Playing GoldenEye 007 remotely, I think would be...
Four-way split way with everybody, as long as you get it set up, yeah.
I'm always down for a four-way. When it comes to gaming, of course. When it comes to gaming, yeah, no, for sure. I think there's a lot of potential here, for sure. Again, I think getting more eyeballs on the retro gaming community is never a bad thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and dude, let's talk about some of the 1080p here, because some of these games look. I mean, you're showing me what was some of the Saturn games earlier. You're showing me and Panzer Dragoon and all these games that Panzer Dragoon Saga is it what $700, $800 game or more?
Exactly.
And now you can play in HD, flawless 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
I mean,
it impressed the heck out of me too. Believe it or not, that was just a luck thing with the Saturn. Simply Austin had did a review of it and said, you know, hey, things are running great. And he goes, but I noticed they're running at a really high resolution. Well, I went and I just did a search on command line switches for the emulator, and I found that there's one to get it to natively res and then upscale. Selected that, and then everything started running at 60 frames per second. It was just like, wow. So it worked really well.
Yeah, because the Saturn is one of those systems that has been very difficult to emulate for many years, right? And that's one of the reasons I think some of the games are really, really, really expensive. Although you look at it, though, you think about it, though, games like Little Samson, and I mean, obviously you can play that in emulation, but look how much that is, right? Yeah. So I don't see emulation really deterring people to buy old games. That's not, you know, that's...
If someone's going to buy an old game, they're going to buy an old game. I mean, that's just how it is. They're going to say, hey, I want to play it on the original hardware with the original. I started emulation because I wanted to play games that I've never been able to. Like an X68000, for example. I'll go back to that. To buy one of those is so expensive, and then you have to have it shipped from China, and then you have to fix it, and then you have to do so many different things. And if you do it for one game, it's kind of a waste. Yeah. So what I did is I made sure that one game would play, saw that I liked it, and then I went to a couple other games, and then I purchased the system. But it broke, so and I eventually sold it. So.
Okay. Well, cool. I think it's really cool what you guys are working on. You have a YouTube channel, Cubert Addict. It's a great channel. I'll put a link below.
Cubert Addict 1.
Cubert Addict 1.
The other guy's just not doing videos.
Cubert Addict 1. And definitely I'll put a link below. I encourage you to subscribe to Kirk's channel. He's a good guy. He's got some updates. You're doing regular updates on what you've been working on as far as the emulation scene. Daily updates. Aura is the group. If someone's interested in possibly being part of your group, or where could they find?
Basically, they can join the Team Aura Facebook group, and then if they want to contribute, they can go on the Discord servers. I'll give you links. You can put it in your description, and they can just chat with everybody, and if they have any questions, ask them. But do check the facts that are on the website first, because sometimes people might give you a little flack if it's already on the site. Okay. So yeah, other than that, it's really cool. Everybody's very friendly.
there's no. I'm sure there's no drama.
There's no
right?
ego.
No ego.
No ego thing, yeah.
Right on. So definitely, what I'm gonna do now is show you some gameplay footage from some Saturn games. We'll show you some PlayStation 1 games. What else should we show them? Like Dreamcast, N64,
Saturn,
PSP.
Outrun Coast to Coast, best one.
Yeah, dude. Outrun.
That runs so awesome.
2006 Coast to Coast.
Yep. Awesome game.
Yeah, for sure. And what was that anime game you were playing? PlayStation 1?
It was Space Geppy, I think it is. Space Geppy X or something like that. But that's it's got a lot of good atmosphere, like the 70s, like Robotech. And
it was like Robotech for sure, but it's a shooter.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool shooter. Yeah,
very cool. check out this guy's channel. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Stick around because I'm going to show you some really cool footage. Thank you for liking this video. Leave a comment below. What are you guys' thoughts about emulation in general? And what are some systems? What are some of your favorite games? Leave a comment below. I'd love to see some of your favorite games. And see you guys soon. Take care and game on.
し始めた宇宙ビースト軍団に対抗すべく行くぜ。ひでえわいらの町がこればか
To start racing, select Start the Race from the pause screen menu.